So that was a fantastic test series, great for test cricket actually. The first test was won by Australia quite convincingly, and a lot of people felt that they were going to win the series easily after that. But in Melbourne, India won by 8 wickets. Sydney, the match was drawn. There was a bit of rain around there, and then an unbelievable run chase at the Gabba. The first time Australia have lost at the Gabba since 1988. Pant, the hero, with a brilliant knock. Nasser, that was just fantastic cricket all the way through, I thought.
It was a fantastic series, up there with probably 2005 Ashes series, and India in particular were magnificent. Bowled out for 36 in Adelaide. Virat Kohli goes home on paternity leave. Then virtually every single bowler goes down injured. So you're basically playing your A team or B team, whatever you want to call it, against Australia in Australia and having to come back and put up with some stuff on and off the field. You know, Indian cricket is not there to be bullied. It wasn't bullied in that series. They were brilliant, absolutely outstanding. Rahane, outstanding. Young guns like Shubman Gill and Rishabh Pant, their bowlers, anyone who came in. And it was a real team performance. Every single member of that squad. And most of those had been in bubbles since August, since before the IPL, preparing for the IPL. To go to Brisbane, some people said, oh, you don't want to go to Brisbane, not because of COVID rules, because you don't like the pitch in Brisbane. Nonsense. They went to Brisbane and won. That was one of the great comebacks in Test match history.
Swanee, there's not many people that know what it's like to win out in Australia. You're one of them. What will the Indian players, how would that have felt for them?
Well, I don't know about them, but for me, the sense of achievement winning over there is enormous. And like Nas said, that was an incredible comeback. Adversity they went again, they had to put up with and live with. To come back and win at the Gabba, even when they'd won Test matches before, even in the back of their mind when they're having this dreadful sledging from Australia, I can't wait to get you together, mate. They'll have been thinking, well, there's truth in that, of the record there, because Australia are very hard to beat there. They've not played a vintage Australian team. Let's not beat around the bush. When we won in 2010, that was not a vintage Australian team. I mean, we were a vintage English team, don't get me wrong. But the Australian team we played had some glaring holes in it. This one has as well, which is why India, having gone there and won, are now the team to beat in Test cricket, especially in India.
Nasser, Swanee mentioned it there about the sledging. Now, we saw that, I think, in the third test where Tim Paine and Ashwin had a bit of a go at each other. Didn't look good for Tim Paine in the end because he said, can't wait to get you to the Gabba, Ash. And Ash had a go at him, said, I'll get you to India. It'll be your last test series. Well, there's no doubt who won that sledging battle, Ravi Ashwin. What did you make of it all, though?
I honestly think some of the sledging is absolute nonsense, Rob. And this is not an old timer talking. We've all had sledging. We've all had the heat of the battle. And I'm one that said over the Rabada incident with Joe Root at Port Elizabeth, we don't want robots. But some of it is almost like you're playing up to the crowd. You're playing up to the stump mics. I think you wrote about it, actually, Rob, when stump mics were turned up in Australia and suddenly Tim Paine was joking with people. Try and be the best cricketer you can be. Try and be the best captain you can be. Try and work out how you're going to win Test matches. Try and work out how you're going to win on the last day. That's twice now, Tim Paine. Headingley, he had an absolute shocker against Stokes and Leach. He's had another shocker here now. Try and be the best captain you are, not the funniest bloke or the best sledger. You're not remembered at the end of your career as the best sledger or the funny gags. You're remembered for your captaincy. And that's 2 strikes now for the Australian captain, Tim Paine, Headingley and the Gabba. And generally, it's 3 strikes and you're out. So do your captaincy is what I'd say.
So let's throw it forward then, because we always talk about who's going to make it to the Ashes. Would you be having Tim Paine as your captain or not?
I think Tim Paine has done some very good things. If you look at when he took over the Australian side, and it was all sandpaper gate, and they had to, almost rebrand themselves. So I think Langer and Paine have done a very good job at that, albeit they have gone backwards in this series. Some of the stuff we've heard, they've crossed that line that they talk about. You're judged by winning the game or losing the game, and I think he's under a bit of pressure at the moment. I was a bit surprised that Langer did an interview before this Test match, after what happened in the last one, and backed him all the way up till the end of the Ashes, said he will be captain for the Ashes. He better have a good series against South Africa coming up, because as I say, you can't afford too many more losses if you're Tim Paine.
Speaking of captains, Swanee, Rahane did an excellent job, actually. Kohli lost the first Test match. Rahane then took over, and they've ended up winning the series. Now, who would you have? You going to have Kohli, or are you going to have Rahane as your captain?
I'll tell you what, it is a brave man in India who turns around and says, get rid of Kohli. I think it's very simple. Virat Kohli will keep that job. He is the absolute demigod in Indian cricket now, especially with MS Dhoni not playing anymore. But it does pose an interesting question that India can form, and some of them play better when Kohli's not there, overshadowing them. Kohli is a fairly sort of wears his passions on his sleeve, sort of Nasser Hussain type captain in the middle, and some players obviously don't react as well. Rahane was the exact opposite, very laid back, sort of very chilled, never, a bit more like Strauss, never really looked perplexed, just got on with the job. So I don't think we'll see Rahane as captain. He's a brilliant vice to have, and it's brilliant for India that they've got that. But I think Kohli will walk straight back into it.
Well, let's just have a look at the schedule then, because India's next task is to play against England, which is coming pretty soon after the Sri Lanka series for England. A lot of them, they all pretty much fly straight out to India. Now, the two Test matches, numbers 1 and 2, are in Chennai, and then the 3 and 4 are in Ahmedabad. Now, that's because, obviously, of COVID, but it starts from February the 5th and finishes on March the 8th. So that, Nasser, is going to be a seriously tough task for this England team.
It is, as Swanee said there, though, the Tour of India is now the massive test for any side, let alone an English side. The pitch is Chennai, generally flat and then spin. Chennai, I think last time England were there, they got the best part of 480, 500 in their first innings. India got 700. Karun Nair got a triple hundred and went on to win the game. And Ahmedabad is a new stadium. They've rebuilt it, 120,000 capacity. And I was speaking to some of the Indian commentators last week, and they say they can pretty much prepare any pitch they want there. They've got various soils that they can have. So it'll be interesting to see what they prepare. You'd guess it's going to spin. They announced their side or their squad in the last couple of days. All the success stories from Australia are there. The one that's missing that I would be concerned about if I was India is Jadeja. He hasn't made it through that injury that he had in Australia. And I heard today, actually, that they think he won't play in the 3rd or 4th Test match. Rumours are that Jadeja is out for the whole series. Now, that will be a big blow, just balancing that side. But if you look at the batting lineup, they could have, you've got Shubman Gill, Rohit Sharma, Pujara, Kohli, Rahane, Pant, Bumrah with a new ball. So they got pretty much every base covered. And Ravi Ashwin, as Graeme Swann knows, is a pretty special off-spinner as well.
Yeah, Swanee, I mean, bowling out there, playing out there, what is that like? How hard? Is that as tough as it gets, playing against their batsmen or not?
It is and it isn't. The one thing that I used to say to myself is it's going to spin, and it does spin. Even on day one when they're fairly flat pitches, if you bowl well enough, especially against India, India play you very respectfully. There's not many of that team. There's not a Virender Sehwag in that team. Virat Kohli, when he bats against spin, waits for the bad ball. They play Pakistan do, who look to just destroy you and smash you off a length, charging down the wicket and playing lap sweep. They're very, very patient. But if you're willing to be patient and bowl all day, you will take wickets. You might have to work very hard for them. You'll lose some timber, which isn't a bad thing if you're putting it on like I am. But it's as a spin bowler, it's like bowling on the 4th or 5th day in England. That is why you're a spin bowler. That's your time to shine. So I used to look forward to going to India and Sri Lanka and Bangladesh thinking, at least I'll get a good bowl. At least I'll be the leading wicket taker because I'm fed up being Broady being that. So that's what the spinners need to do. They can't look at that team. And I must admit, when I look at the Indian team now, it's starting to look like, you know, the Indian team with Dravid, Tendulkar, Ganguly. It's starting to take shape like that. Those players are starting to look like real class players. But you've still got to look at it and think, look, I'm bowling against the best players spin, but at least it's going to be spinning.
I was going to say, actually, because they went through a period, as we've seen Moeen Ali bowl them out twice at the Ajinkya Bowl, that they had some stutters against spin, didn't they? Now, you've done IPL cricket recently. Would you say the present crop of Indian cricketers are getting better? It's an odd thing to say, but are they back towards Tendulkar, Lachman, Dravid, Ganguly, VVS? They look like they're improving against spin again. I
think they are. And the one thing is, like, wrist spin at the moment has really taken over in the IPL. And, I mean, to the tune that nearly every IPL franchise has at least one, maybe two leg spinners, very few finger spinners. That can work very well in the finger spinners' favour, I think, because they're not playing as often. There's a certain lackadaisicalness about batting against finger spin. It's the underdog again. So that's what Moeen Ali or Don Bess have to say. Jack Leach is the one for me in India. He has to run up and be prepared to bowl nothing but straight deliveries. Pitch a middle stump, hit a middle stump. Harath has done it for years and done very well against India, albeit in Sri Lanka. If Jack Leach can do that and just tie one end up, bowl 40 overs a day, tie one end up, then you can rotate. You can have strike bowlers in Wood, Anderson and Broad and get the other spinner attacking more. But yeah, I do think this Indian team are getting better and better. Honestly, until Kesey put that squad up then, I was still thinking India, yeah, they're good, but are they that good? And when you read those names out now, that reads like a modern day sort of, these almost turn into the Invincibles. That is an incredible team they've got lined up at the minute.